Hi folks, thanks for spending some time with me again today. This is number 46 in the Melodious Etudes for Trumpet book, Carl Fischer publication. There are many editions of the Bordogni Etudes. You can find them online. There's an edition for trombones, very popular among trombone players, called, they call it Rochu, because that's who's transcribed them. But in any case, Marco Bordogni wrote these, and you gotta love them. And if you don't, work on something else. But if you're back here for more lyric trumpet playing, then I'll try and give you some ideas that maybe will give you a little variety and spice in your playing. Now, this one is marked 104. And you gotta realize, if a tempo is put there by the composer themselves, that's one idea. And I've gone back and checked some of the original editions of the Bordogni, and I'm not sure whether those are Bordogni's times or not, but they're different than the ones in this book. Well, that's what editors get to do. You can choose any tempo you want. No problems. Okay, so I like to play things at all different tempi, especially the tempos that I don't like. So this one feels very logy to me. It feels very slow. And it says allegretto. Allegro comes from the word allegra, which means happy, cheerful. So when you play it at this tempo, it sounds very vertical to me. It's hard to keep the line. I also think it odd at that tempo with the accents on the second beat of the bars. That's doody. So it gets very heavy at that tempo. Now, I don't know. See, I don't know. I'm just looking for something that works. So I'm going to bump it up a little bit. Now, that's not too much faster. I played it at 104, which is what it's marked, and I moved it up to 116. So experiment with this. You're going to find tempos that seem more right to you. Wow, that's annoying. That seem more right to you, and go with it. And then play outside your comfort zone. That's the best advice I can give you. Now, what are we looking for here? What is happening in the music? As always. So there's your tonic. 3 blind mice, right? And if you think of all the notes that come before that half note as an introduction to the half note, which is leading you down to tonic, it's so much easier. So there's your little introduction. Cool. Oh, I realized maybe for the first time I'm not playing all the way through this. Probably you're grateful for that, because this is 2 pages. And I don't know if you want to sit there and listen to me do that. So, this is for to stimulate your practice and to help you to improve your playing. So if you want me to do a complete performance, just let me know and I'll do that if necessary. But I think I'm going to kind of work our way through it this time. So there's so many things going on, as I always say, I know. But you see how making it simpler instead of more complicated makes it so much easier to play? Physically, I felt myself relaxed because I can just release these notes. And this is the note I'm going to put a little bit of weight on. That's very helpful, because once you put your weight on something, then you also get the bounce of the release afterwards. It's a little bit like some people talk about it being like a diving board or a trampoline, which I totally agree with. Sense of just let your weight go into it, and then it gives you the energy back. So very helpful way to work on your music, because those are essential ingredients. Now there's something in here that bugs people. It's something I notice a lot from my students. The first thing that I notice a lot from my students is when they see an accent, they go instead of, they're accenting with the tongue instead of with the breath. Now, of course, it can be both. It is both. But I can play that without using the tongue at all. So I got plenty of accent. I didn't use the tongue. What am I doing? It's how I'm releasing the breath. If I want a snappier accent, assuming my chops are vibrating correctly and I'm relaxed, if I just throw the air instantaneously, I'm going to get that snap. So most people do it hard with the tongue. Why? Because it makes it easy. Breath control is much more difficult than just controlling the tip of the tongue. So I'm going to tell you something. Some of you folks out there are good at doing this with the tongue, and there's nothing wrong with it. Just don't rely on it. Rely on the breath, and then bring the tongue in as necessary. That gives you complete freedom with your articulation, with the style of your articulation, which, as some of you may want to do or be doing, is what makes it possible to play all the styles in the orchestral literature. You have to learn how to articulate with different flavors. That sounds like a good idea for the trumpet class at NEC. We're on winter break right now. As you can tell, I've got kind of a scratchy throat today. So I got to be thinking, what am I going to be doing with the trumpet class next semester? Because it'll be here before we know it. Okay, so the tonguing too hard, just listen to the attack. Is the attack a slap at the beginning of the note? This is a hard thing for many instruments. It's hard to get that on a string instrument without being somewhat percussive. On an instrument like the piano is a percussion instrument, so it's hard not to get that effect on the piano. It's hard to play with a beautiful release instead of a percussive attack. And this is not about right or wrong. There are different musical ingredients. When you use inappropriate ingredients, you get a bad tasting meal. You have to have things that make sense with one another. So the other thing I always notice when I'm working with my students is they're not thinking about the releases, and this whole etude is about releases. Let me play a little bit more of it. So we finished the introduction. Okay, and then it goes back into the original material again. So I hope you were listening to the releases. He's got eighth note tied to a 16th note staccato and a 16th note rest. So what's the musical effect? That's always what I'm asking myself. Like, what should it sound? What fits the character? Well, we said it's allegretto, it's cheerful, it's light. So I'm releasing the note with a certain kind of character. And you can practice this in any context. A great way to practice these kinds of things is take that kind of figure and put it with something that you know. For example, a Clark study. Don't do it with your throat. Don't do it by stopping the air with the tongue. It's all, if you have trouble, sing it. Best advice I can give you. And listen. If you can't tell what's going on, record yourself. It might be embarrassing and frustrating, but at least you'll know what's going on. And that's very helpful if you want to make progress. Okay, the next thing I wanted to mention is there's a retard. It's a little bit confusing. There's a note with a fermata on it. Then it says rallentando. You got 3 notes. And the last of those 3, there's another note with a fermata on it. And if you've got the music, you're looking at it, it's like, that's okay. What did the composer have in mind? What makes sense musically? Those are the questions I want to be asking myself about this stuff. It's like, what should that sound like? I got to try it. No, okay, that was pretty good. Can I do that again without overthinking it? Can I do it again without trying to make it exactly the same? In other words, I'm feeling the way the music is moving. So one big tip here is when you're holding a note with a fermata, don't hold the note. I know that sounds contradictory. When you see the fermata, don't hold the note. Sustain the note and be leading somewhere with the note. Or be releasing energy with the note. But it has to be going someplace. If you hold the note, it's kind of locked in place, and that's not music anymore. So you might play it, I don't know if I can do this, because I've trained myself not to. Something like this. So that note is, a string player might call that a white note. It's got no color, it's got no sense of movement, it's got no sense of direction, it's got no sense of line. It's like, I don't know why this happens, but when I lived in Kansas City, I get this flash on what happened when we were first there. There was a mob war, and two rival powers in the crime underworld were fighting one another, and they blew up a huge area of downtown in their attempt to kill one another. Now, that has nothing to do with this music, although the music is Italian. But what I always think of is, okay, you know, these guys are at war with each other. They're whacking each other, and so, you know, the guy gets shot and he collapses onto his car horn. That car horn sound, where it's like, duh, is dead. It's like flatline in the hospital. It's dead. It always has to seem like it's going someplace. Even though it might be perfectly smooth and perfectly stable, it needs to seem in your mind, in the mind of the listener, that it's going someplace. So, first rule, never hold notes, always sustain them. Second rule is find the tempo. So after you get out of, it says rallentando. Rallentando from what? Oh, well, I had this tempo that I chose. Yeah, now I'm going a little faster even. So what I did is on the first note of the rallentando, I actually played yum, dee, da, da. I was in the process of going from the previous tempo, slowing down in two notes basically. Excuse me. So it's tricky, but it's not so hard when you do it with your voice. So what I recommend in this musical analysis phase of learning is sing it to yourself, just do it with the air, conduct it, and try and feel the time of it. And if you're not sure, play a bunch of different versions. You can even make fun of it, like I did when I did the car horn effect. It's like, okay, you know, right? It doesn't always have to be beautiful. You're looking for information here. You're trying to feed your system with ideas that'll help you to open the doors to better musicianship. Okay, what else is going on in this? Oh, yeah, I should probably play a little bit more of it, but it goes back to the original material, and then it changes harmony at one point. After a fermata. By the way, excuse me, since you have bar numbers, that was bar 27, or where I just played, pick up to 27. And so when I go ahead, there's a fermata in the next bar. So if you want to find these starting places, I should give you bar numbers. Sorry about that. So this is the pick up to bar 27. Okay, so now I've gone into a different key. It feels a little awkward. Well, I'm hearing the pitch things are different. I'm playing in a different key. What's the key? D flat major. How do I know that? Well, it sounds like it. If you look at the notes, and you finally finally shows you the tonic. Where? So you cadence in D flat. See how you're thinking harmonically again? It's all part of the package. So don't try and do everything at once. Just listen for one thing at a time. You know, if you want to work on the line and the time, the feeling of the movement, great. But if you try and do too many things at once, it's going to feel stiff and awkward. And if you're having to spend too much of your mental energy to control the physical playing of the trumpet instead of allowing your body to operate naturally and training those skills in, you're always going to feel awkward when you're doing these. The goal is to enjoy it. Enjoy the music and enjoy the process of playing the trumpet. When you're really enjoying playing the trumpet, one of my fine colleagues in the Boston area, Terry Everson, whom many of you may know, likes to say, much to the annoyance of his students and his colleagues, playing the trumpet is so easy. What he's doing is he's telling himself the truth. He's discovered that, oh, I used to feel like playing the trumpet is very difficult, but now I don't. I feel like it's easy. That's where you're trying to get. Now, I feel like it's easy some of the time. So let's be honest here. Now we changed harmony. You can hear that. Cadenced in D flat. Oh, I have to point out a wrong note. I'll play it again. It's marked G natural in that bar. That is bar 37. So it's kind of major minor. No, that's a mistake. How do I know that's a mistake? I'm going to go on and play the rest of the passage. So he repeats that figure 3 times, and the interval relationships should be exactly the same. You can just tell, right? That note sounds wrong because it is wrong. So be careful when you're reading music. A lot of you folks I know, because I work with some of you, are very diligent about going in and making sure you're playing the right notes. In this case, there's an error in the music itself, since there are not a lot of recordings of these, you may not find it. You may just think, well, that's what it says, so I'm going to play it that way. No, I'm saying trust your ears and look for corroboration, look for evidence in the music itself. That's what it's supposed to be. It's the same figure over and over again as he modulates. And then cadences in C minor. Okay, then what? So now we're back into the material. Now, this was very helpful for me because I hadn't worked on this very much. And as I'm tasting the music more, it's just easier for me to play. I can feel what the music wants to do. Wow, it's so much better. But I still have to finish it. Because there are he's going to throw you a couple of tricky pitches here. I'm going to start right where I did and see if I can play to the end. Let's see, I'll give you the bar number. This is 40, pick up to 47. I'm starting to like this tune. I hope you are too. So the tricky part is, again, you've been lulled into that sense of ease and security, but then he throws in some accents and takes you above the staff. So most people go into ita or da-ita or da-ita with their chops, or trying to squeeze with the tongue, all these different things to try and get that note to come out. So what I'll do is I want to play this line in this range, so I need to be comfortable on all of it. So I practice every day in order to get more comfortable with wider intervals. So then when I'm starting on the low F, I'm already ready to play the high A. I don't have to switch gears. I don't have to change the way I'm playing physically. I'm staying in the same zone. Now that's easy for me to say, I know, but I've worked hard on it over the years. It has served me very well, because then you're always feeling confident of being able to play that note, and you've broken the habit of feeling like you have to kick or push or press, drive the air, squeeze with your lips in order to get the upper notes. It's really not necessary. It's necessary to stay in balance, stay open, and let the air flow. That's about the best advice I can give you, and I hope some of this activity today has been worth your while. I hope you're inspired to go practice now, so I'll let you go do that, and I hope you also come back and spend a little bit more time with me. By now there's a fair amount of material on the website. I don't know when I made the last Bordogni episode, but it might have been in at least 2023, maybe 2022. So here we are again. All right, have a great day. I'll see you later on. Bye-bye.